and gentlemen, from New York City, Joe Garagiola!
Thank you very much, and welcome to Tell the Truth. Now, if you're a faithful viewer of the show, you know that this game is played with one real person who must always tell the truth, right? And then two imposters who can lie right through their teeth, okay? Well, our first guest, he's made a career out of being the most outrageous imposter that we've ever come across on this show. And you're going to see what I mean right after we meet our panel. And let's meet him now.
Here is Nipsey Russell! Becky Cass, Bill Cullen, and Kitty Carlisle.
You don't like it down there?
Well, in just 1 minute, we're going to meet a real imposter, and then we're going to meet our two imposters. But first, let's say hello to our real, genuine panel here, our regulars of Cass, Cullen, and Carlisle.
Let you forget for a minute.
They always do that to me.
And now this week, we got the very real Nipsey Russell.
Indeed. I am here to set the record straight about sex appeal and a woman's weight. It's nice to be neat and look petite, but if you want to feel some heat, you got to have some meat.
Okay, and with that, let's meet a champion imposter.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Frank William Abagnale.
Number two.
My name is Frank William Abagnale.
And number three.
My name is Frank William Abagnale.
Don't miss a word of the various life stories of Frank William Abagnale. I, Frank William Abagnale, am known as the world's greatest imposter, and no wonder. In the course of my nefarious career, I've palmed myself off as a doctor, lawyer, college instructor, stockbroker, and airline pilot. To become an airline pilot, I merely bought a plastic ID card for $5, affixed an airline logo from a model plane hobby kit, and in no time at all was co-pilot for a major airline. As a bogus lawyer, I actually worked on a state attorney general's staff. For 6 years, I also cashed over $2,500,000 in bad checks in 26 countries. Ultimately, I was sentenced to 72 years in prison. I served 1 year in France, 1 year in Sweden. I then served 4 years in a federal prison in this country. Paroled, I now devote my life to the prevention and detection of crime. Signed, Frank William Abagnale. I'll tell you what's so funny.
Yeah.
The real one, he passes $2.5 million in bad checks. I took 2 pair of pants to the tailor, had to leave a deposit. How do you figure that? And we'll be back with some questions right
Honest
after this.
face.
Well, I'm sure, panel, not one of you have forgotten that the 3 gentlemen over there all claim to be Frank William Abagnale, who has had a career as a doctor, a college professor, and an airline pilot, not one of which he was qualified for. So, for the first time, he's going to have to tell the truth, and we're going to start our questioning with Kitty.
Thank you. Well, whoever you are, I don't think you're exactly to be congratulated, but it is a marvelous story. Number one, why, with all your talent, and you're obviously a very bright fellow, why didn't you go in for a legitimate profession?
It was really a question of dollars and cents. When I was a young man, I needed the money, and I thought this list of careers were the easiest way to get it.
I see. Number two, how come you stayed on the state's attorney's staff for 6 years? They didn't catch you out.
No, it wasn't for 6 years. It was approximately 1 year.
Oh, I see. But even so, they didn't catch you out, did
No.
they? Number three, when you got your pilot's license, did you pilot the plane?
I never piloted a plane. Most of the time I spent in a jump seat.
Which jump seat?
I took other airlines that were not the brand that I had my pilot's license with that I was working for.
Oh, and you mean you were traveling for nothing?
I traveled, that's right, for nothing.
I get it. Number two, what is the first thing you stole from?
Never actually stole anything. First thing I did was write a hot check
And what was it for?
for about $60.
And they cashed it?
Yes.
Buzzer, and we go down to Nipsey Russell.
Number one, there was a movie called The Great Imposter made by it was pretty much the parallel to the story you told. You know who the star of that movie was?
I believe it was Tony Curtis.
Yes. Number two, do you know who the most famous gate crasher was of all time?
I don't believe so.
Okay, let me go back to number one. What credentials were you required to show when you were a doctor?
When I was a doctor?
Yes.
Well, I made up a series of diplomas and certificates that said that I graduated with honors from...
So you falsified?
Yes.
I see. Now, number three, I would be interested to know what you were arrested for.
The actual charge was carrying forged documents, which in this case were checks.
And did you ever forge any documents such as an airline pilot's identification or a lawyer's degree?
The identification card was easy. Basically, I had an identification card made at a standard place that makes them.
Did you have to carry on some kind of a conversation so that people who were also in the profession might know something about you?
I did a little reading before and after. As I went along,
Let's go to Peggy.
Number two, did you ever give anybody medical advice?
Yes, I worked for a year as chief resident of a hospital in Georgia.
Could I ask you, number two, which hospital?
It was the Cobb County General Hospital in Marietta, Georgia.
Did anybody get well under your, or was it vice versa?
Yeah, I had no problems.
Oh, you didn't treat the big jobs
No.
then, just fingernails and things like that, right? Okay. Then. Number one, you said you got a diploma from law schools. You made them up. Which law schools? I want to know if you really took the class.
I made up the law degree
From where, though?
from the University of, from New York University.
And did you? And where were you? What state attorney's office did you work in? Which state?
Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
And that was too far away from you to check up on you? Was that the-
Exactly. That's why I went there.
Number three, since you had all this money, $2,500,000 in bad checks, are you still rich?
I have a few dollars left.
And they didn't take it away from you?
Internal revenue took almost 90%.
Those rats. They do it to everybody, though. No reason to feel bad about that. Number three, what's a deadhead?
It's when you're flying, you're supposed to be on duty in another country and you're just flying back for free to get there.
Number three, what is that outfit you've got on?
Buzzer.
That looks like Paul
Buzzer.
Muni, and I am a fugitive from
Paul Muni. Speaking of Paul Muni, here's Bill Cullen with the questions.
Number two, I imagine you mind embarrassing questions, so forgive me. This parole you have, is it real? I mean,
My parole?
yes, sir.
Yes, it expires in 1981.
I'm just asking because how are we to know this is really a parole you have? Number one, you said, it is stated here, Joe said, in no time at all, I was a co-pilot. For the record, can I clear something up? Were you a co-pilot in the cockpit of an airplane?
Not actually, no.
And were you number two?
No, not
And
actually.
number three?
No.
Good. That's a relief for all of us who must from time to time.
That is
So,
certainly true.
What you did, number three, was just utilize the privileges that a co-pilot gets as far as flying for nothing and
That's
things
right,
like
the
that.
special treatment and the fact that I could sit up with the pilot and co-pilot while we were flying.
When you were doctor number three, did you make house calls?
Never did.
See there, that's a real good imitation. If you get,
Okay, that means now our game is over and it is time to vote. They must mark their ballots, no consultation, no change. And do you think it's number one? Or do you think it's number two? Or do you think it's number three? We pay $50 for each incorrect answer, $500 if all the answers are wrong, the votes. And Kitty, you got us started. How did you vote?
Well, it's very difficult because number one has that sweet, honest, open face that any mother would love. Number two looks like a serious fellow you trust as a doctor or a resident. But number three seemed to know all the answers about deadheading and the Internal Revenue and all that. So I voted for number three.
Number three. All right, let's go to see how Nipsey voted now.
Well, usually I find that when you're flying false colors, the less you say, the better chance you have of getting away with it. Number three kind of laid back, and
Okay.
one phony knows another when he sees one.
one phony knows another. All right. Let's go to Peggy. How did you vote, Peg?
Well, I didn't go along with the crowd. Number 3 knew about deadhead and the Internal Revenue, but practically everybody does. Now look at number 1. He almost looks like a priest. I mean, he could fool anybody.
That's what I said.
You just gave him a new idea.
Nipsey said he just got a new idea. All right. Bill Cullen, how did you vote?
Well, I don't know. I went along with the other votes. Number 3, he looks like the kind of guy who could talk me out of anything that I still have.
All right. I don't know if I said it, but $50 for each incorrect vote. If all the votes are wrong, it's $500. I just thought I'd say that, guys.
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Okay.
Here we go.
Now, will the real Frank William Abagnale please stand up?
Strike 3, folks.
Okay. $500. They did it. They did it. Now,
If he fooled the doctors and the lawyers and the bankers, what chance did we have?
that's right.
Hey, you're still good at your racket.
But I tell you, it was a team effort. I want you to listen carefully and closely to what the imposters do. Number 1, very loudly and very clearly, what is your name and what do you do?
I have to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yes.
My name is Leonard Dembo. I'm the principal of a high school, and Peggy will be glad to know that I am a Catholic priest.
That gives me the shivers.
Wait till number 2 has to go to confession to him backstage. That's the thing. Let's find out who number 3 is, who got 3 votes. What is your name and what do you do?
My name is Richard Lawrence. I'm president of Law Enforcement Associates. We manufacture police equipment and lie detectors.
Frank, I do want to ask you one question. You have engineered some extraordinary escapes. Tell us about one of them.
Well, I'm the only man to ever successfully escape from the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia.
How?
Since it's impossible to get over the walls or to come out physically, I impersonate a federal prison inspector and walked out of the prison.
You just tell the people you have another incident like that? Will you just
Yeah, I had a case where the police had my hotel room surrounded in Atlanta. I went out the back door and I had a suit on. As I stepped out the back door, 2 officers came around the corner and they said, "Hey, you, hold it." And I just turned around to him and said, "My name is Davis, FBI." And they said, "Oh, excuse me, sir." And I sent him around back front.
Listen, I want to show you some pictures now. He's actually had nerve enough to take pictures of when he was posing as a doctor, as an airline pilot. And I want to show you Frank as a medic. Take a look. There he is, as Dr. Imposter right there.
A regular Marcus Welby.
And there he is as a pilot. Boy, he looks very official, doesn't he?
Working back.
He could bribe
So there
us.
he is. So thank you very much, Frank. Thank you, our 2 imposters, for playing our game to tell the truth.